Alright, so here's a good one for you. So there was a pre-evolved form version of Vulpix in Gen 1 and Gen 2 that was never really used. It went by the name of Mikon, but in the English, well, in the Gen 1 version, it was supposed to be called Trifox. So, but its real name was Mikon later on. So, what happened was they never used both those, which was a pre-evolved Vulpix, and it turns out that Mikan, instead of spelled with an O and then replaced with an A, it was actually Jasmine's Japanese name, the Steel Gym leader. So that's actually very interesting. I wonder if they reused that because they never used Mikon in Japan. I mean, I know Mikan is a very popular name, sort of, but at the same time, it kind of really. I wonder if that's a nod off to that, because they didn't use Mikan. They didn't use Mikon, they used Mikan. So, but anyways, so Trifox was originally supposed to be in Gen 1 as part of the original 191. But I also think it also was part of the original 300 design before they lowered it to 191, 151. But of course, part of that 40 that was then scrapped. And so far, none of these Pokemon have been used. If you look at the Pokedex entry for Vulpix, it actually mentions that it did have a baby version at one point. It had 3 tails instead of 6, and then when, it evolves into 9 tails, it's got 3 more. So you can definitely see it definitely ages very well. So it's also possible that they could have had more versions of Vulpix, because they do say that as Vulpix, it's one of those Pokemon that could have more than 3 forms. Like, as it evolves, it gets more tails, and it looks a little bit different. Maybe not significantly different, but it does look different, though. So it's actually worth noting that. And I think there's really, I'm trying to think what else. So Mikon was a fire type, and it was originally replaced by Ladybug, which was also in the Gen 2 prototype. It's kind of hard to really say. It's not as hard as trying to figure out Gen 1's prototype data, because at least you have something to go off of, and you can kind of see where they left off and where they began. But the problem with Gen 2's prototype is there's a lot of ideas that were either changed, scrapped, and then you just got to figure out where they were rearranged. But it's easier because the placement was significantly more understandable. You just have to figure out where the index numbers begin and end from Gen 1 and Gen 2, and then really try to figure out what ideas didn't they have. Because I've always understood it like the index numbers that were in Gen 2's prototypes would be past 300. It begins after 300, or yeah, so that should make sense. So hopefully that can explain a lot then.